Folks, the rumors are true. My Chris Jericho AEW shirt finally came in. A little bit of the bubbly. But of course, there are other things we have to talk about, such as video games, and there's a bunch of different stories floating around that I definitely want to talk about. I want to talk about what's going on with The Last of Us 2. Obviously, there was a whole bunch of new information on the game today, but one critical piece of information was given about the game that has the PlayStation fanbase a bit split on this game now. Sega is bringing back an old franchise to the Nintendo Switch that has me absolutely ecstatic. And finally, Mario Kart Tour has hit cell phones, and a lot of people seem to be a bit upset about this game, but I've been playing it for quite a while, which is weird considering it's a mobile game, and I definitely have some thoughts about this game that may be different than other people's thoughts. So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. So to kick things off, let's talk about Doom and the Nintendo Switch. Of course, Doom 1, Doom 2, and Doom 3 recently released on the Nintendo Switch. We did a video covering those games, and I really enjoyed those ports of the games, but I definitely noticed something when playing Doom 1. The music seemed to be a bit slower than I remembered it, and I wasn't sure if that was just my ears playing tricks on me, or if that indeed was the case. Well, it does look like that was indeed the case, because today Bethesda announced that they have released an update for Doom 1 and Doom 2 on the Nintendo Switch, and these updates will basically fix the music so that the pitch is the correct pitch and that the music sounds exactly like it should sound, and they actually increase and fix some of the lighting in these games as well. So pretty cool stuff here, to be honest with you guys. A lot of people are saying that these versions of Doom and Doom 2 are now the best versions that are available on consoles, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking this out and checking out the fixed sound issues, because it really sort of bothered me. You had so much cool music in Doom that was of course inspired by bands like Metallica, Pantera, Black Sabbath, and to hear them sort of off pitch was definitely very noticeable to me. So kudos to Bethesda for fixing these issues. Definitely a very cool thing to see. Next up, we have to talk about The Last of Us 2. Now, obviously, during the last State of Play event, The Last of Us 2 was definitely the focal point of that event. We got a new trailer, the game looks absolutely fantastic, and of course, that was just the tip of the iceberg. Naughty Dog was holding press-related events where people from the press could come and check out the game, play demos of the game, so we've gotten a whole bunch of new information about this game, and honestly, the game looks fantastic. Like, it definitely looks like a more of an open-world style experience than the original Last of Us, which was honestly one of my complaints about the original Last of Us. I felt it was too narrow and some of the corridors were just too linear. I wanted to explore this world a little bit more, and it looks like you'll be able to do that in The Last of Us 2. So fixing my main complaint about the game is definitely something I'm looking forward to playing. Of course, the gameplay itself looks absolutely fantastic. The visuals are absolutely top-notch. We also learned that this was going to be a 2-disc game as well, so that's actually pretty crazy when you think about it. But of course, some of that disc space has to be for the multiplayer in the game, right? The Last of Us, the original game, had a really good online multiplayer community. I played some of the online multiplayer in The Last of Us, and I thought it was pretty fun, but a lot of people got very addicted to it. So much so that when the PS3 servers were shut down, a lot of people were upset about that. But today it was announced that The Last of Us 2 is not going to have any multiplayer, and a lot of PlayStation fans are very upset by this, and I could definitely see both sides of the coin. I don't think every game needs multiplayer. Obviously, a game like Super Mario Odyssey, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, God of War, Spider-Man, those games didn't really need online multiplayer, but those games have never really had online multiplayer as a main thing. Considering The Last of Us 2 is the second game of the franchise, we only have the original Last of Us to go on, and the original Last of Us had both a single player and a multiplayer experience. So to sort of scrap the multiplayer experience, I could definitely see some people being upset by that. Now, some people feel that it's a good thing because they're going to be able to focus on the story more, and when you think about it, the story expanding across 2 Blu-ray discs is absolutely mind-blowing. Like, how big is this game going to be? How much graphical fidelity is going to be involved in this game? But the lack of multiplayer could end up hurting The Last of Us a bit in the long run, because so many people played The Last of Us original multiplayer back in the day, and even still play it on the remastered edition on the PS4. So I don't really know where I stand on this. Obviously, I'm still going to pick up The Last of Us 2. I'm not really that bothered by the lack of multiplayer, but I definitely understand why some people are bothered by it. Now, are you one of the people that is bothered by the lack of multiplayer in The Last of Us 2? Let me know in the comments down below. Next up, things are not looking very good for the Atari VCS, and I've been very critical about the Atari VCS because I just felt it was a weird product, and some people have said, well, you've been nicer about the Intellivision Amico than you were about the Atari VCS, but that's just sort of because we've seen things from the Intellivision Amico. We've seen what the controller is going to look like. We've seen what the hardware is going to look like. We've actually seen games running on the thing, and a library of games that's going to be available for this in their little teaser. With the Atari VCS, we've just been talking about it and talking about it and talking about it it without seeing any concrete information. Well, if you watch channels like Mad Little Pixel or Spawnwave, they both have recently put up videos about the Atari VCS situation, and it honestly just doesn't look good. Atari VCS was supposed to announce more information on the product during summer of 2019. Summer is now come and gone. We are in fall. Nothing happened. Atari VCS said that between the 22nd and the 23rd of September there would be some information, and then that information never came. They've actually made a brand new subreddit because of the fact that they felt that they were getting berated with different comments on the unofficial Atari VCS subreddit, and now they made a whole nother subreddit for it. It's just a mess of a situation. They're saying that this system is going to launch and be sent to Indiegogo backers in December, yet we are almost done with September, pretty much in October, 2 months away from December, and we haven't seen this thing in action. We haven't seen a single game running on this thing. It's looking like a very dire situation. I don't know how this is going to play out, but I definitely have my popcorn ready to eat the popcorn and watch and see what ends up happening. To say I'm a bit of a Sega fanboy might be a bit of an understatement. I think I own more Sega games across the board than I do Nintendo-related games. I just love Sega. It's a company I grew up loving. It's a company I grew up with their system. So whenever Sega franchises are being brought back, I get very excited. When Panzer Dragoon was finally showcased as coming to the Nintendo Switch during Nintendo's E3 event, that was one of the highlights of the presentation for me. I was very, very excited. So whenever I hear things about old Sega franchises coming back, my ears perk up. And now my ears are perking up. I'm at full mast right now because supposedly, allegedly, House of the Dead is coming back. House of the Dead 1 and 2 are coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, this information is coming to us from NintendoLife.com. I will have a link to their article in the description box down below. But Nintendo Life is saying that House of the Dead 1 and House of the Dead 2 are coming to the Nintendo Switch. What's exciting about this, though, is that it looks like these aren't just going to be straight ports. It looks like Forever Entertainment are the ones handling these games. Now, who is Forever Entertainment? They're the ones doing Panzer Dragoon. So obviously, they sort of are working with Sega on bringing back old franchises. Now, House of the Dead 2 has been re-released on things. House of the Dead 2 and House of the Dead 3 released on the Wii and a compilation platform. But House of the Dead 1 was pretty much regulated to the arcades and Sega Saturn, and then was never released again because of the graphical style of that game. So to see a nice HD version of that game is going to be absolutely fantastic. House of the Dead is one of my favorite arcade games of all time. I remember being at the mall and going to the arcade and playing House of the Dead, and I'm sitting there playing it. I'm probably like, I don't know, 10 or 11, and this older kid who's probably, 15 or 16, this Asian kid walks up to me and he's like, "You're playing the game wrong." And I'm like, "How?" "I'm shooting the zombies on the screen." He's like, "Let me play with you." I'm like, "Okay." So he puts in some quarters and he picks up a gun, and I'm sitting there just going pew, 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 holding the gun or whatever. And this kid picks up the gun and he's like, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, just tapping the trigger so that he fires off shots faster. And I was like, whoa. He was like, "You got to do it like that." And so he taught me pretty much how to play light gun arcade games and really gave me sort of an advantage when playing these games. And we had a blast playing it. And what's funny is that kid ended up growing up to be Mr. Miyagi. So, the more you know. And finally, I want to talk a bit about Mario Kart Tour. Now, Mario Kart Tour has finally come out on iOS and Android devices. I actually signed up for the beta, and I was accepted into the beta, and then they never sent me any more information, so I never got to check out the game during the beta. So these were my first impressions of playing the game. I actually downloaded it today, played it for about an hour or two, which is quite a while considering it's a cell phone game, and I'm not quite sure what some people are so upset about. Some of my peers seem to be really upset and just hating this game, and I'm not quite sure why. Now, I definitely understand some of their complaints. The whole microtransactions in this game are just absolutely insane. There are so many microtransactions. There's a season pass. You get things like rubies when you're playing through the game, and you're supposed to shoot these rubies up and they give you a random item, but the rate of which you get these random items or characters is very, very low. So that sucks. They're obviously nickel and diming the hell out of everyone when it comes to this game. If you want to get a certain character or you want to get a certain cart, you pretty much have to put money into this game, which absolutely sucks. I totally get that. But as far as a free experience, which is how I'm playing this game because I'm not spending any money in this game, I've been having fun with it. Like, it's not that bad. If you go into this game saying, "I'm not going to spend any money regardless of what this game offers me," I think you'll have a decent time with it. Now, the carts automatically accelerate, so that's kind of weird to get used to, and you can control it with the touchscreen or a gyrometer control that's built into your phone. I went with the touchscreen controls and I chose the drifting controls, and once I got used to it, I was actually having a good time. Some of of the courses are really cool. You see a lot of courses from the Super Nintendo, the 3DS, the GameCube. I like the new courses as well. I thought the New York course was actually really cool. I would like to see that implemented into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now, the races themselves are pretty short. You only do 2 laps, and of course, you're not actually racing against people, even though it tries to act like you are racing against people. You're just racing against the AI. It has the 50cc, 100cc, 150, and 200cc, all of which are unlockable by playing throughout the game. You also unlock more courses as you get more stars and play the game. So really, you know, coming into it with a perspective of this is a free-to-play game and I'm not going to spend any money on it, I think it looks good. I think it plays pretty decent. And if you're just looking for something to kill some time, like, it's not a bad game. I don't see why people would want to spend, you know, hundreds of hours in this game when it's something like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is available on the Nintendo Switch. You know, this game is not really for the hardcore Mario Kart audience. It's more just for people that want to pick up and play it. Maybe they spend $5 and download some more rubies or something to get some more stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm just sort of blinded by this because I don't play mobile games. But considering the fact that I played this game for an hour or two and I am having fun with it and I actually want to play it a bit more, says something about the core of the game. The microtransactions suck, but if you're just looking for a free, fun-to-play racing game, it might not be worth the download. Alright, so that is everything going on in the world of video games that I find interesting. So let me know in the comments section down below what you think of everything. And as always, folks, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Check out other videos on the channel, and as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.